You've seen it a million times, right? You pour cream into your coffee and you watch that beautiful, chaotic dance as it swirls and blends in. Or maybe you've watched smoke from a candle just disappear into the air. It looks so simple, but what's really going on there is actually one of the biggest, most complex puzzles in all of physics. So today, let's pull back the curtain and dive into the hidden world of turbulent mixing. All right, so here's our game plan for this scientific deep dive. We're going to start right at the turbulent boundary. Then we'll see how scientists basically create chaos on demand. We'll meet the absolute star of our story, the vortex, and stick around because there's a really surprising twist at the end about how this mixing actually happens. So our journey begins at this mysterious, totally invisible frontier. It's the place where a smooth, calm fluid comes face to face with a wild, turbulent one. Yeah, it all comes down to this really basic question. On a tiny, microscopic level, what forces are actually pulling that calm cream into the swirling, chaotic coffee? Well, the answer lies in a process that has a pretty awesome name. That name is turbulent entrainment. And that invisible border separating the two worlds, that's called the turbulent/non-turbulent interface, or, just TNTI for short. And you got to understand, this is not some neat straight line. It's a battlefront. And this is what that frontier looks like. I mean, wow. It is a complex, messy, and constantly shifting boundary. This is where all the action is. So the big question is, how on earth do you study something so chaotic in a controlled way? Well, turns out, you built an obstacle course. Scientists needed a way to create this whole process and then watch it unfold in super slow motion, basically creating a perfect little laboratory for chaos. And the setup itself is, honestly, beautiful in how simple it is. Researchers at Beihang University made this water channel with a smooth plate on the bottom. Then they just stuck a tiny little fence in the path of the water. That's it. That one simple obstacle is all it takes to trip the water up and create a very predictable, very watchable region of turbulence right behind it. And that was the whole point. By creating this one specific disturbance, they could strip everything else away and just isolate the fundamental physics of mixing. They could watch it, measure it, and really understand exactly what's happening at that invisible boundary, moment by moment. Now, in this story of mixing, there is one main character that drives pretty much all the action: the vortex. This little swirling whirlpool is born right there, behind that fence. And just like any good character, it has a whole life story. First, it's born, or generated, as the water rolls over the fence. Then, it grows, gaining energy and size as it travels. Next up is deformation, where it starts getting stretched and pulled apart by all these complex forces. And finally, it breaks down, dissolving into even smaller, more chaotic swirls. Understanding this life cycle is absolutely key to understanding the whole mixing process. But this is where it gets even cooler. It turns out not all vortices are created equal. Nope. The researchers found two totally distinct types right at that turbulent boundary, and they act in completely opposite ways. You can honestly think of them as the heroes and villains of our story. So on one side, you have the prograde vortices. These guys spin with the main flow, kind of like a wheel rolling forward. They actually act like a barrier, pushing the calm fluid away and shutting down mixing. Then you've got the retrograde vortices. These are our heroes. They spin against the flow, and they act like a little scoop, pulling that calm fluid in and actively promoting mixing. And here you can see them in action. Look at that. On the left, that's the prograde vortex, spinning clockwise, basically acting like a wall. And on the right, there's our mixing hero, the retrograde vortex, spinning counterclockwise, scooping that fluid right in. Two tiny little whirlpools with two completely different jobs. I mean, the researchers themselves put it perfectly in their paper. So the crucial point here is this: one vortex is a wall, the other is a hook. This discovery is totally fundamental to everything that comes next. Of course, in the real world, it's never just one or the other. This image shows both types existing side by side, locked in this constant push and pull battle right at that turbulent edge. Some are suppressing the mix, while others, right next to them, are trying to enhance it. It's a real tug of war. Okay, so we've got these battling vortices at the boundary, but how does the calm fluid actually cross over? For a long time, scientists have debated two main ideas. The first one is called nibbling. Just picture the turbulent area slowly dissolving the calm fluid right at the boundary. It's this continuous, gradual process. The second idea is engulfment, and this one is way more dramatic. Think of a big eddy reaching out, grabbing a huge gulp of calm fluid, and just yanking it in all at once. So which one is it?
Is mixing a slow, steady feast, or is it a series of sudden, dramatic gulps? This experiment was perfectly designed to finally answer that exact question.
And the answer, wow, it is overwhelming. Just look at this chart. The slow and steady nibbling process accounts for more than 93% of all the mixing, and those dramatic engulfment events, they make up less than 7%. So mixing isn't about big, violent gulps. It's a persistent, continuous nibble at the edge of chaos.
Okay, so we know mixing is mostly nibbling, and we know that our hero retrograde vortices are the ones that promote it. The story should be pretty simple from here, right? Logically, you'd think the most intense mixing, the fastest nibbling, would happen exactly where those powerful counterclockwise retrograde vortices are doing their scooping. It just makes sense.
But that's not what the data showed. The spot with the absolute highest rate of mixing, it wasn't where the strongest retrograde vortices were. It was somewhere else entirely, and this is the final, really fascinating twist in our story.
So here it is, the final piece of the puzzle. While those retrograde hero vortices are super powerful, the study found they're just too rare. There simply aren't enough of them to be the main driver. Instead, the most intense mixing, the real hotspot, happens a little further downstream. It's in a region where the turbulent flow, after getting kicked up by that fence, reattaches or settles back down against the plate. And this reattachment creates this zone of intense pressure and velocity differences, and that's the spot where the nibbling is the most ferocious.
So what are the big takeaways from this whole deep dive? Well, first, mixing is a slow dance of nibbling, not a series of violent gulps. Second, you've got your hero vortices that pull fluid in and villain vortices that push it away. But maybe the biggest lesson is that the location of the action isn't always where you expect. It's not just about which player is the strongest, but about the overall conditions. And this stuff matters. This fundamental knowledge helps engineers design more efficient jet engines by controlling how fuel and air mix or create better chemical mixers for everything from medicine to food. It really all starts with understanding that elegant, chaotic dance that happens when you pour cream into your coffee.